Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'll call to order the August 23rd meeting of the State Allocation Board. Please call the roll.
Senator Allen, Senator Wynn, Senator Pan, Assemblymember Nazarian, Assemblymember Chavez,
Here.
Assemblymember O'Donnell,
Here.
Juan Morales,
Here.
Cesar Diaz,
Here.
Jeffrey McGuire,
Here.
Irina Ortega.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we'll have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started, and if we come up to any action items, we will leave the roll open for the senators to join in later. So let's start with our first action item, which would be the minutes from the June 28th meeting. Any corrections or comments on the minutes? Any public comment? Is there a motion?
Move approval. Second.
All right. Moved by Mr. Chavez, second by Mr. O'Donnell. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adopted unanimously. We'll move to item 3.
Yes, we have the executive officer statement, and we have a few announcements tonight. We'd like to share that at our last board meeting, early June, we had a certification round that was open, and that closed June 8th. And we had nearly $444 million in projects that submitted a cert, and those certs are good through from July 1st through December 31st, 2017. And those certifications included the projects that the board took action on June 5th, which was a significant amount of projects that were on the true unfunded list, so that's nearly $370 million. The next item we wanted to share is there was also a seismic mitigation program project that's also in the consent agenda for $2.1 million. We have an upcoming bond sale next week. The Treasurer's Office has a scheduled bond sale for this program. And so in lieu of having a meeting at the end of September, we're recommending to have a consent-only agenda on September 6th. So the board will have the ability to take action on the projects that had submitted a certification. And with that, we're also working on a joint agency workshop, a couple of venues as we speak, with the Division of State Architect and Department of Education. I know Division of State Architect has tentative timelines sometime in November, but some of the outreach opportunities that we have moving forward rather quickly, we'll be partnering up with Department of Education and with our focus primarily on small school district outreach. So more announcements in that area. And again, our next meeting September 6th.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Silverman? Any comments on any of those items? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Any
Consent.
comments or questions, Ms. Silverman? Anything to report?
Approval?
Okay, moved by Mr. O'Donnell. Second by Mr. Morales. I'll spread out the seconds. Any public comment on the consent items? All right, seeing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. And we'll leave that item open for the senators. Financial reports?
Yeah, financial reports, we had no fund releases to report for the month of July, and because most of the activity occurred in the earlier months. But we do want to highlight in the status of funds, that's on page 91, we have a number of closeout adjustments and activities, 4 to be exact, for over $10.1 million, and that actually will result in districts having increased on their adjustments to the original grant. Also, we have several closeout activity of $2.2 million when we come back to the program. We have 60 additional apportionments going out in the emergency repair program that represents nearly $5 million, and that's a result of some collection activities on the emergency repair program, so nearly $2.2 million coming back to the program, and that's what we want to announce in status of funds.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that report? All right, seeing none. Please note for the record that Dr. Pan has joined us. Thank you. We'll move to the appeal items under tab 6. I'm going to recommend that we take them out of order. I know Mr. McGuire is here on a couple of them. So let's start with Burnt Ranch. Yes, please. Go ahead and we'll ask staff to just do a little summary of the appeal before us, and then we'll take your comments.
Thank you. Brian LePasque with OPSC. Burnt Ranch Elementary School District is a one-school district located in remote Trinity County. In March of this year, they discovered water intrusion in every building on their campus. So one school district, so it's the entire school. They've evacuated those buildings. They have temporary housing in place. They do meet financial hardship approval, and they have a two-piece appeal. They're asking for replacement funding to do rehabilitation work. They qualify for replacement funding, but the district feels it might be more cost-effective to actually rehab the buildings because of their location. And while we have augmentations for geographic location and for remote areas and difficulty of construction, it might make a little more sense for them to be able to get the replacement funds in order to do the rehab work because the costs are escalated. We've provided funds similarly to the Klamath Trinity District, which actually shares a boundary with this district, so they're in the same general area of Trinity County. So we do recommend that we provide replacement funding for rehab work. They're also asking for an immediate apportionment of design funds so they can get their project underway, and we support that as well.
Okay,
I can answer any questions.
thank you. Any questions before we turn to Mr. McGuire?
Madam Chair, thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. And members, thank you very much for all of your work on this request. Madam Chair, before I get into the words in regard to Burnt Ranch, I just want to take a moment, if it's okay with you, to thank your executive officer directly to my right. Ms. Silverman, I got to say, is one of the most responsive, hardworking, and dedicated public servants that we have working at the state. She has been tremendous, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much, truly, along with Brian. Brian, you have been a wonderful individual to work with all throughout, incredibly responsive in some of these really difficult challenges. So I just want to take a moment to say how amazed we are to be able to work with your staff, and it's the vision of your board who brought these two wonderful individuals out here to the state. So thank you very much as well. And I'm really grateful to be with you, Madam Chair, and the board in requesting the support of the two applications. And first that will be advanced is Burnt Ranch Elementary School. Both of these school districts are located in Trinity County. And as you all know, Trinity is one of the poorest and most rural counties in our state. 13,000 residents live over 3,208 square miles. If you're to flatten the Alps, it would be the size of Texas up in Trinity. And these two districts serve the community's children in significant ways, and their campuses are the gathering grounds for neighbors. Trinity County has the second highest rate of homeless students in the state, and for many children, these schools are the most stable part of their lives. And that's also many times where they're able to access those meals as well. And Burnt Ranch School serves approximately 100 total kids, kindergarten to 8th grade, and they've been devastated by mold. And was able to meet with the superintendent principal here earlier this year. Last year that they learned that every classroom in every building was unusable. The school, which serves as a hub for the community, is now completely operating out of portables. They use the majority of their building reserve funds, which they had set aside for permanent, to be able to move students into a safer, mold-free environment, to be able to open up school and keep school operations moving. Burnt Ranch School's population is 35% Native American, and over 80% of students are on the free and reduced lunch program. And the school facility project will not only rebuild the shuttered campus, but will also rebuild the heart of the community. And Madam Chair, the principal superintendent is also here today to be able to answer any questions as well.
Thank you. So I'll ask, all right, right in front of me. Ms. Graham, did you want to come on up and if you had any additional, members, I'm not aware of any objection to approving this appeal, so we'll ask Ms. Graham if she has any comments.
Again, I want to thank you all for letting us be here and taking your time out to listen to our appeal today. Senator McGuire really summed up our situation. We are an excellent school that's working under really harrowing conditions right now. Our students are coming to school every day and they're trying their best, but we are not able to provide many of the services that we need to give them. Some of those happen outside. If the speech teacher shows up, she has to meet with a child at a picnic table outside. All of our services have been compromised. We are the hub of the community. We perform every service available. We have our kids show up early in the morning. We bus them to and from school. We have an extra bus in the afternoon because kids need to stay at place, our school in the after-school program. We've just recently gotten high-speed internet, and we're not even sure how that's going to work. We've had lots of challenges with that. So our facility is paramount to anything that goes on in our community, and I just have to hope that that's clear between what I've said and what Senator McGuire has said. So I want to thank you for
Very
your
much.
time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from?
Move approval.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Dr. Pan?
Certainly very supportive and appreciate your testimony about so the central issue about the mold, and I understand there's some challenges given the remoteness and accessibility of construction and so forth. We do believe just by rehabbing the buildings, we're going to be able to address, I mean, there's rehabbing versus constructing new buildings that
Right.
are, so forth. But I mean, I think the central issue is that we're going to be able to take care of this mold problem, and to the best degree we're able, our construction techniques are available, that we're not going to have the mold problem come back. So it makes more sense to rehab than it is to have, so whatever infrastructure is going to be left is not going to cause the mold to return, or people aren't going to be concerned that, oh, well, whatever you,
Yeah, it should be taken care of. I
okay,
think we have the technology and what we need to do to make it
okay.
safe and clean from now on.
All right, well, I just want to be sure we have the public confidence in that, and that, as I said, such a critical piece of your community that we just want to be sure that we're taking care of the problem.
Mr. Lepask, do you want to speak to any part of the process of the design or the project as it goes forward that would address Dr. Pan's questions, just in terms of accountability for the funds, oversight of the project plan?
Sure, yes. When we approve these projects, they have to have an engineer's report. In this case, it'll be probably an industrial hygienist or an environmental hygienist. And they're going to actually outline the minimum work to mitigate that. And so we have a professional that will outline the minimum scope of work needed to be done, and we'll have concurrence of that from the appropriate governmental agency in the area. I think probably Trinity County Health or something along those lines. So we typically trust that they know what they're doing. They're the experts in that field, and we'll be funding their projects accordingly.
Great, I think that answers the question, thank you. All right, any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second on this item. I don't think we need to call the roll. We'll ask, and I'll maybe give Senator Nguyen just a second to come up. Senator Nguyen, we're on the appeal for the Burnt Ranch school item. So all in favor of the motion to approve the appeal, please say aye. Aye. And that's approved unanimously. We'll leave it open for Senator Allen. Thank you, Ms. Graham.
Thank you.
And we'll move to the Mountain Valley appeal.
So the Mountain Valley School District is facing similar circumstances to Burnt Ranch in that they have discovered water intrusion and mold. This is also a small school district, and they have had to close many facilities in order to address the mold situation. So they have applied under the Facility Hardship program, and they do meet the qualifications of that program for replacement funding. They're early in the design stages of their project, and the appeal request is a little bit different than what Burnt Ranch is asking for today. Mountain Valley does not meet the criteria that we have in regulations for financial hardship that would allow staff to process this application administratively. But in the regulations, there is an option for school districts to come to the board with other evidence to see if the board will grant them financial hardship status. The financial hardship status would allow them to receive a design apportionment for a portion of the project costs so that they can continue to figure out the methods to address this project. The district has provided information in the appeal that indicates that they have faced some severe challenges financially with dealing with the mold. They've exhausted local efforts, and they do plan to put a bond on the ballot in November to seek a match from their local community, but they don't know the outcome of the election yet, but they're feeling that they're getting some good positive feedback from the community. The issue still is that they have closed classrooms, so they do not have any other funding available to them that would allow them to continue to mitigate the situation. They have looked into issuing a certificate of participation, and Trinity County the County Office of Education has weighed in that that the county office would actually have to issue that because there is no identified way of paying it back at this moment, so that would be dependent on the bond or state funding, so that doesn't seem to be a great option for the district at this point as well. But they have done everything they can to this point to get further along in the project, and they are seeking board's approval of financial hardship status. If the board does approve that, they are also asking that the board consider providing an immediate apportionment outside of the priority funding certification period so that they can get the cash immediately to continue planning the project and addressing the situation. Staff is seeking board direction on the financial hardship component, but if the board does approve that piece, then we do recommend that the board also approve an immediate apportionment, which is option A on this item.
Senator McGuire?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and I apologize having my back to you, so sorry. Madam Chair, thank you so much for allowing the two presentations. Mountain Valley Unified School District is also facing an emergency situation with mold. They have been closing facilities across its high school and elementary school campuses. I'd like to be able to detail some of the challenges that they have. No longer available on the campuses are kitchens. The library at the high school is now closed. High school locker room at the high school locker rooms are closed. Cafeterias at both the elementary and the high schools are closed. The high school agricultural building is closed. And Superintendent Miller, who is here today, her office is also closed because of mold conditions. Much like Burt Ranch, Mountain Valley Schools serve students who are in need. Over 80% of students qualify for free and reduced price lunch, which are now prepared at mobile kitchens because kitchen facilities are no longer accessible to any of the employees. Mountain Valley Unified School District comes before you today with a unique request, as you just heard, because of the district's characteristics prohibit it from providing the typical matching funds necessary. They have made a true effort, I got to say. They're very innovative to identify funding. And although the district serves a significant catchment area, its bonding capacity is less than that $5 million to provide a match that will need approval for financial hardship from your board. And we are grateful that Debbie Miller, Superintendent of Mountain View Unified School District, is here today to be able to answer any technical questions. And again, thank you so much for allowing the presentation today.
Thank you. Ms. Miller, did you want to join us? And anyone else who wanted to speak on this item, feel free to come on up.
Senator McGuire does such a nice job, I'm not sure I should be up here. Thank you all for listening. Mountain Valley Unified is just like Burnt Ranch is, very small, very remote. We're 45 minutes winding mountain roads from the next nearest school. So it's not like our kids, if we can't take care of them, can just go somewhere to the neighbors. They can't do that. So we barely miss all of the criteria. We thought until last winter that we were really good stewards of our resources and our money. We have never gone out for a bond. We haven't needed to. We have kept up our buildings, and then we had a broken heater and we wanted to use our Prop 39 funds, and they went up into the rafters and came back down and said, there's a problem. So we tested everywhere, and indeed there is problems. So as Senator McGuire said, we have a lot of areas closed down, but we need to, get rid of the health and safety concerns and rebuild. We had probably around $1 million in our reserve funds. We've been salting money away, and we thought we were really doing a good job there. And now those are completely, by the end of September, we will pay the last abatement bill to get rid of the mold, and we will be broke. So it's kind of like, this is unexpected and unfortunate, and so we're here hat in hand because I'm not sure what else to do. We need money to rebuild and get our kids back in the schools and be able to feed them properly, because often we were all 3 meals of their day. And now we're having trouble doing that. So,
Thank you. Any questions? Dr. Penn?
Thank you, and I appreciate my seatmate's presentation. And I just want to clarify with the staff that part of the reason they just miss is because actually the land value for doing the bonding has been somewhat artificially elevated for
Yes,
various reasons.
We're
So-
we're a pot
Yes.
farming community
Right,
now.
so-
It's a little weird.
So anyway, let's put it this way. We have a lot of communities that are potentially
Yes.
asset rich, but actually revenue poor.
Yes.
And I mean, I think this is something we need to do something for the kids in the community. I really, we need and I think this particular circumstance is not one of the school districts making, and so I would be pleased to move the appeal.
Okay.
With
Okay, moved and seconded, and you're
Yeah.
moving option A,
And
right,
option
to
A, yes.
expedite the funds, okay? Any other comment on this? All right, seeing none, we have a motion, a second. All in favor of approval of the appeal, please say aye.
Aye.
So that passes unanimously. Thank you, Senator. And we can move back to the NORWALK-LA MIRADA item.
Madam Chair, before we
Yes.
go there, if I can ask for a clarification on the Burnt Ranch item. There
Yes.
was two requests. One was for the replacement funding, and the second was for expedited apportionment. I wasn't sure the record was entirely clear that the board was approving both. So
Okay.
if I can have confirmation of that, that would be
I
great.
believe so. So for the members who voted on that item, that was.
As long as there's no objections, that's fine. I just want to make sure we have that confirmation on
Yes,
record.
Yes, on both
Thank you.
items in the staff
Thank you.
report. Okay.
All right, thank you. Yes, NORWALK-LA MIRADA. This was a emergency repair program project that was funded in August 2015 to replace a structurally unsafe portable classroom building. Because this project required DSA approval, they had 21 months to complete the project and submit their expenditures to us, to OPSC. During the planning of the project, they were also planning many other projects and master planning that particular site. When they were about to have their plans approved, they discovered that DSA notified them that 3 of their fire hydrants were out of code and that they would need to be fixed. Subsequently, they figured out that they didn't have enough water pressure to do that. So they came to us, requested an extension to their deadline, knowing that they wouldn't be able to meet the 21-month deadline. It appears to us that these were circumstances out of their control and unpredictable. The SAB has approved 2 other appeals for emergency repair program project extensions in the recent past. The only difference with this one is Norwalk is requesting 18 months versus 2 months or 8 months in the other ones. So we can't administratively approve an extension, so we're seeking board direction on that.
Okay, thank you. This is another one without any objection. I do have a speaker card from Jesse Urquidi. Sorry if I didn't say that correctly.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jesse Urquidi, board member with NORWALK-LA Unified. And first of all, I want to greatly appreciate the staff's, OPSC staff, in assisting the district with this. And I felt it was important to come up here. I'm also an engineer in my professional life, so I understand a little bit of this. And I really, really appreciate the support of the extension based upon the background that was put in the report for next summer as being a better time to construct and bring the ERP program back to bring the water pressure and the size from 4 to 6 inches for the hydrants. So that was one of the mitigating factors that happened during the construction. So
Okay,
thank you
great.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any questions? Yes?
I'll move the item.
Okay, moved by Mr. O'Donnell,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Nazarian. Okay, all in favor of approval of the appeal, please say aye. Aye. Okay, it passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we will move to the Career Technical Education Facilities Program Regulatory Amendments.
Yes. So, direct your attention on, it's tab 7, it's page 173. And we wanted to share with the board that Proposition 51 had passed in November, and this is the last program that hasn't been opened up. So the Career Tech program, there's $500 million that was authorized by the voters, and we wanted to bring forward some options for funding, open up some funding rounds. But we also wanted to address some conforming regulations, regulatory amendments related to some recent statutory changes. So as far as this recent statutory changes, it was a repealed section that was enacted in 2015, and the repeal in itself. We had 3 successful funding rounds in Proposition 1D under the Career Tech program. However, we were at a point in time in the program when we didn't have funds. So at the time, there was statute enacted that provided the board the ability to move some of the funds around. And at that opportunity, there was new construction modernization funds that were depleted, and so that provided the board the opportunity to move those funds, program funds in those areas for that need. As well as we wanted to, part of that conversation too is we also had residual funds that we were collecting from the Career Tech program under the prior authorization, and so there was also residual payments coming back from loans. And we had $2.4 million in funds as of the middle of June, and although we had residual funds that we had the ability potentially to move those funds, we are recommending that the program funds remain in Career Tech as opposed to moving them to new construction modernization, since the program is pretty much flush. With that, we've been working with Department of Education on establishing some funding cycles and some timelines with that. And so we worked out the timelines associated. We're recommending that the board opens the first funding round for $125 million. And the details of Department of Education establishing and accepting applications would be beginning September 27th, and that would wrap up November 29th. And we also have some timelines shared in the item with Department of Education sharing scores. Those funding applications open up sometime in the middle of February, and also presenting those applications for board approval in June. And we also are establishing another round no later than September 2018 for the same amount of $125 million as well. So with the conforming regs, regulations as we had proposed, we also wanted to highlight that there's also a slight change we're recommending to the board related to the match. So we wanted to make those amendments, and I'll read it on record because there has been a slight modification. I'm not sure if we passed it out. Great. So it was a important conversation that we had, and it was elevated by Los Angeles Unified, and we appreciate the comments that we received. So the match requirement, as noted, will change, and we'll make that modification if it's with the board's approval. So can I direct your attention, and I think we all have it in front of us, page 177. So we're asking the board to make the slight modification to Regulation 1859.194. Instead of what you see on stat page 177, we're asking that the modification to the language as underlined, instead of saying excluding funds, we want to read on the record, it says, notwithstanding local fund sources previously identified in this paragraph, a grant recipient's local match shall not include funding from any state or federal sources that provide funding for Career Tech education, including, but not limited to, Career Tech Education Incentive Grant Program, the Career Tech Education Pathways Trust Program, and the Career Tech Education Initiative, and the Perkins Federal Career and Technical Education Grant Program. So that's the change that we're proposing today, along with the other changes as listed on stamp page 177 and 178. And we're recommending on page 176 that the board adopt those changes, and also allow us to file on an emergency basis and open up the 2 funding rounds for $125 million max.
Okay. Any questions? Any public comment on this item?
Move approval.
Okay, moved by Mr. Chavez, seconded by Dr. Pan. All in favor of approval of all of the recommendations listed in the staff report as modified by the language read by Ms. Silverman, please say aye. 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 Okay, that's approved. And we'll move to tab 8.
It's just the workload reports and appeals.
Workloads and appeals, and we'll have as mentioned, a very quick consent-only meeting on September 6th to address the bond sale. Any other member comments or public comment to come? Seeing none. Yes, we will. We're going to call the roll for the items that not everyone was here for. If you were here, you're welcome to head out. And thank you, everyone who attended. So, Ms. Jones, let's walk through we'll start with the minutes, I suppose.
Okay, the minutes, and that would be Senator Allen, how do you vote on the minutes?
Aye.
Senator Nguyen? Aye. Senator Pan?
Aye.
Thank you. On the consent calendar, how does Senator Allen vote?
Aye.
Okay, Senator Nguyen? Senator Pan? And I believe the last one, and I think you came in the middle of it, Senator Pan, is Burnt Ranch, so then I'll start with Senator Allen. Senator Nguyen? And Senator Pan. Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, and I'm not going to adjourn just for a minute until we see if Mr. Nazarian returns. But you're welcome to, we're just holding the roll open. Because I have no authority to do what they do in the legislature.
Right. They do, you do. You can gamble whenever you want.
Yeah. I'm not sure that would be.
Really? What other actual?
I think Lisa takes them. Yeah, you can leave it there. Yes, that's right. Maybe he's just outside.
Yeah, he's
Someone grab
outside,
him.
yeah.
Hopefully his staff will grab him. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks.